Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Shodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Mr. Pad Paramahansa Purikacharya Astotar Shishi Mata Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Purikacharya Astotar Shishi Mata Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Isopanisad Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Bhakti Glad. Drum. Oops. Hold on a second. Thank you. Here, you can fold this up and put it, hang it on the side there. You know where to put it. Mala Prasad. Right? Mala Prasad. Yeah, we should remember that prasadam just doesn't refer to food that Krishna has eaten, but also garlands, flowers. That's also prasadam. But Mala Prasad appears a lot when Lord Chaitanya is going to South India. Remember that in the CC? You got a lot of Mala Prasad from the different temples. Okay. Let me just get settled here. Here it is. Mantra 6. Uh-oh. Okay, we can turn that off now. Just open the doors. Thank you. Okay. So you have to give me, this is a Dwadashi class. It means there's not much glucose flowing in my brain. So if you hear something strange, or suddenly I freeze up when I can't figure the word, that's why. Okay. This is 29th, yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 29th day of July, 2019 in SanDiego. We're reading from Sri Isopanisad, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Mantra number 6. And just a note on pronunciation. Because these are Upanishadic verses, sometimes there's a little difference in the ending of lines and things like that. So here we have this Bhutani, which we see everywhere. But normally you would chant it, Yastu Sarvani Bhutan, Yatman Yevana Pushyati. It actually loses a syllable there, the 7 syllables, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Normally you'd have 8. But the I becomes a Y because the next word is a vowel, the A, long A. You see that? On the next line. So we're going to chant that I because you're going to be repeating we're going to be repeating the first line. Okay, so just to let you know, that Y is going to become an I. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vajugupsate. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati Sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsati. Bhakti, you want to have a shot? Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati Sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. You're up there, Janardhan. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Prabhu, in the corner, you want to try it? Go ahead. Yastu, oh, you can't see it. Ah, there you go. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Damodar Kumar. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati bhutena chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Bhakta Jamal. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato. Bhakta Glenn. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato vijugupsate. Bhaktin Ace. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevana pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Yaha. Synonyms? No? No, I just wanted to open the door. Yaha. He who. Tu. But. Sarvani all. Bhutani, living entities. Atmani, in relation to the Supreme Lord. Eva, only. Anupashiti, observes in a systematic way. Sarvabhuteshu, in every living being. Cha, and. Atmanam, the supersoul. Tataha, thereafter. Na, not. Vijugupsate, hates anyone. Translation. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. Please repeat. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. Purport. This is a description of the Mahabhagavat, the great personality who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord's presence is realized in 3 stages. The Kanishta Adhikari is in the lowest stage of realization. He goes to a place of worship, such as a temple, church, or mosque, according to his religious faith, and worships there according to scriptural injunctions. Devotees in this stage consider the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. They cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service, nor can they tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. Such devotees follow the routine formulas and sometimes quarrel among themselves, considering one type of devotion better than another. These Kanishta Adhikaris are actually materialistic devotees who are simply trying to transcend the material boundary to reach the spiritual plane. Those who have attained the second stage of realization are called the Madhyama Adhikaris. These devotees observe the distinctions between 4 categories of beings. 1, the Supreme Lord. 2, the devotees of the Lord. 3, the innocent who have no knowledge of the Lord. And 4, the atheists who have no faith in the Lord and hate those in devotional service. The Madhyama Adhikari behaves differently toward these 4 classes of person. He adores the Lord, considering him the object of love. He makes friends with those who are in devotional service. He tries to awaken the dormant love of God in the hearts of the innocent, and he avoids the atheists who deride the very name of the Lord. Above the Madhyama Adhikari is the Uttama Adhikari, who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but sees everyone as part and parcel of God. He knows that there is no essential difference between a vastly learned Brahmin and a dog in the street, because both of them are part and parcel of the Lord. Although they are encaged in different bodies on account of the different qualities of their activities in their previous lives. He sees that the Brahman particle of the Supreme Lord has not misused his little independence given him by the Lord, and that the dog particle has misused his independence and is therefore being punished by the laws of nature by being encaged in the form of a dog. Not considering the respective actions of the Brahman and the dog, the Uttama Adhikari tries to do good to both. Such a learned devotee is not misled by material bodies, but is attracted by the spiritual spark within them. Om Jnana Tibarandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is one of the more quoted verses in the Isopanisad, along with the mantra 1 and I think mantra 15 about praying for the Lord to remove his effulgence so one can see his face, which is rare in the Upanishads, which mostly deal with Brahman. So Srila Prabhupada is interpreting this verse, or he's, commentating on this verse. on the basis of verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, which describe the different levels of devotees. Mahabhagavat, the Kanishta Adhikari, and the Madhyama Adhikari. So the Madhyama Adhikari is described, Sarvabhuteshiyak Pashed Bhagavad Bhavam Atmanaha Bhutani Bhagavatyanman Esha Bhagavatotama. Which is precisely this, the Sarvabhuteshiyak Pashed, to see, as this verse of the Isopanisad is saying, to see the Lord within everyone, to see the divine presence of the Super Soul there, and to see also that every living entity has a capacity to be a devotee. In fact, it's sometimes said that a Mahabhagavat or a Uttama Adhikari, he sees everyone as serving the Lord except himself. And therefore, if he wants to preach, he has to come down to the Madhyama Adhikari, because what's the point of preaching to those who are already devotees? Now, how is it that a Mahabhagavat can see an ordinary atheist or materialist as serving the Lord? Well, philosophically speaking, everything is Krishna. There's a verse like that in the Bhagavatam. Idam, what is it? Idam ivishwan Bhagavan. Idam ivishwan Bhagavan ivetara. Means that everything is in the universe, Vishram is the universe, is Bhagavan, but it seems to be different from him. Now, how is it Bhagavan? Through his energies. We learn in the 7th chapter that Krishna is teaching Arjuna how the mind can be absorbed in him and attracted to him, even though you don't practice all of the disciplines in the 6th chapter, which means going alone, sitting alone, practicing pranayama, wrestling with the mind and the senses like that, which Arjuna rejected as impossible for him. He's taking the role of a householder, Kshatriya. He's involved in so many things. How am I going to go and meditate like that? It doesn't seem possible. So at the end of that chapter, what does Krishna say? He says, don't worry, Arjuna. The best yogi, yogi nama bisarvesham, madgaten antaratmana, shabdhavam bhajate yomam samayuktata momata. So here he's talking for the first time, actually, in the 6th chapter, the first time, which means the last verse, about bhajan, about faith. In other words, this is the process of bhakti yoga. Ashtanga yoga is more or less a technical process of grabbing hold of the mind and placing it, on the form of the Lord in the heart. It doesn't really involve the processes of hearing about the glorious pastimes of Krishna and becoming attracted to him emotionally. It's all like a kind of a technical process, and it's very difficult for ordinary people. Hey, you're going to go alone to a lonely place, find it's a sacred place, or you got to sit on the right seat. Maybe it's too high, maybe it's too. We can just about get ourselves to come to the temple to take some prasadam, and maybe hear about that funny philosophy that they're preaching. The prasadam attract us. The point is that Arjuna is already at a much higher level than any of these yogis that is described there. He's a personal friend of Krishna. He's always thinking of Krishna within his heart. He loves Krishna. So the next verse, which is the first verse of the 7th chapter, Krishna is speaking for us through Arjuna, how you can train the mind to see Krishna everywhere and be aware of him. And then when you're aware of him everywhere, you can start to become attracted to him, because he's all attractive. And he speaks something that's kind of obvious. There, in this material world, there's solid matter, right? Who can deny that? There's liquids, there's gases, there's electricity and fire, there's space, right? And we know from experience, if you think about it, we have a mind, right? And then we have something even finer called the discriminating power, which may or may not be activated, but we have that power as human beings. And we also have a sense of self. Who am I? So those are the subtle realities, and they're all energies. They're all material energies of Krishna. So then if you simply remember those 2 verses, or one verse, Bhumar Apa Ono Vayu, you can remember Krishna. Because when are you not perceiving earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, the false ego? And so Krishna gives us some help. Okay, you're tasting some water, that's me. That's because it's involved with my energies. Your tongue, right? And your nerves and your brain and the water itself, it's all me. It's all my energy. Now the problem is you can't remember those verses or think of them or accept the reality of them if you're trying to enjoy these objects. That's the problem. It's our enjoying mood, separate from Krishna, that has brought us here, is why we're in this material world in the first place. But at least intellectually, we can start to understand the all-pervasiveness of Krishna, and also in places of the Gita it's described, I am within the heart, Ishurak Sarvabhuteshu, the Super Soul is residing there, I am residing there, Sarva Sachaham Vriddhisannivishto. So Krishna is giving us the knowledge. Now if we accept it, and we try to live according to it, then we can start to see him everywhere. So that's the Mahabhagavad has achieved that. Of course, he's much beyond that. He's a lover of Krishna. But the main thing is that he sees everybody as part and parcel of Krishna, sees the super soul in the heart of everyone. And in the higher stage, he also sees everyone as a servant of Krishna. So that's exactly following this verse. He sees all beings as, what does he say? He sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. Atman here means the Supreme. Atman can mean different things. Atma can mean the body, it can mean the soul, it can mean the mind, intelligence, it can mean the super soul, according to the context. Here, Atmani refers to the Supreme Lord. So sees all beings in relation to the Supreme Lord, and sees all living beings as his part and parcel, sees the within everything, never hates anything or any being. So this is the seeing. Now the Madhyama Adhikari, that's a very important platform. We were meant to try to come to that point of Madhyama Adhikari. We can aspire for that. And that is this idea of having, seeing four different categories of beings and relating to them differently. Ishvare tat adineshu, badisheshu, dvishatsucha, prema, maitri, kripopeksha, yakaroti samadhyama. So he's defining this. This is one of the 9 yogendras, the exalted sons of Rishabdev. And he's saying, so this is a very nice way they do in Sanskrit. They'll make a list, and then they'll do another list, and the things relate to each other according to the order. You see? So Ishvare, that's the Lord. That's the Supreme Lord. Prema, to develop prema. You see? The love. Try to love the Lord. Adineshu, things in relation to the Lord, especially the devotees. Maitri, friendship. Then Bali Sheshu. Bala refers to the children, innocent. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there's 2 classes of beings, the divine and the demoniac. Okay, I hope I get into the divine section, right? But then you find everyone else in the demoniac. Where is there any room for the innocent? You see, Bali Sheshu. But Bali Sheshu means those who are not devotees necessarily. They may have a little devotion, you know, they're in a spectrum. But mostly they're just confused. They're just ignorant. They're not out and out declared enemies of God. Those are the atheists. Those are the ones you have to avoid. So you find in this world today a vast number of innocent people. They're not innocent in the absolute sense. They're going out and eating meat, they're drinking, they're doing all kinds of nonsense. But because they're not declared enemies of God, they haven't convinced themselves that there's absolutely no God, then they can be attracted. They can be attracted to Krishna. Because most people, they're not demons in the sense of always, you know, being sociopaths, having no empathy for others, or, you know, consciously trying to do evil to others. There are people like that in this world. Unfortunately, sometimes they get high positions of power. We won't go there. But they're just trying to make it in this world, and they're trying to love their kids, you know, and sometimes they go to church every now and then, you know, for fellowship, you know. These are the innocent people. These are us, you know, in the sense that, you know, I don't think anyone here, well, I was, you know, as a child, I was raised as a declared atheist, but I wasn't really hardcore, meaning that I didn't make it my life's work to try to, you know, combat religion, you know, like that. But I didn't believe in God, okay. But I was open to yoga, you know, and, you know, meditating and chanting mantras to relax the mind so you can meditate, whatever. There was a way in which Krishna found to attract me. Oftentimes, let's face it, it's prasadam, you know, fine. As long as it gets you into the association of devotees, or gets you curious enough to open that book you got 3 years ago and it's been sitting on your shelf. Whatever it takes, in order for the mind to be turned to Krishna and allow him to attract you. Most often it's through his devotees. The devotees who are attractive because they're somewhat Krishna conscious. And to that degree, they can, you know, attract people who are looking for a little friendship in this world, and they find a devotee smiling at them and, yeah, I'll visit your temple. You know? This is the state of being. So there's a vast number of innocent Bali Sheshu. And what is the attitude of the Madhyama Adhikari? Kripa.
Mercy. Show them mercy. Give them a book. Give them an invitation. Give them a smile. Give them a handshake. Madhu Mangal, you remember Madhu Mangal. I think you're the only one here. You remember Madhu Mangal. He would hug people out on the street. You know, they would take a book, or they would give a donation, you know, give a smile, and give them a big hug. You can imagine how blessed those people were. That's a big deal, you know. So that's the kripa, that's really the moving force of this Sankirtan movement, is the mercy, the unlimited mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom we're trying to serve and emulate in whatever way we can to approach the fallen people, the Jagais and Madhis of this world. So that's a big thing. And then for the atheists and the declared enemies, you try to avoid them. The great Mahabhagavats, like Srila Prabhupada, they can go toe-to-toe with these Mayavadis, you know, and defeat them. That's another level, you know. But the vast mass of devotees, you can be Madhyama Adhikari, you know. We come to this point where, yes, we're trying to develop love for the Lord. We make relations with the devotees, very important. What is it? If you study the Nectar of Instruction, which are these 11 essential instructions for all aspiring bhaktas, we should read that book. So many of those instructions, I forgot how many, 3 or 4, are just instructing you how to relate to other devotees. Dadati pradigunnati guyamakati pachati bhunte boje yade chaiva sadvadham priti lakshanam. This priti lakshanam, many years ago, before any of you can remember, there was a magazine started called Priti Lakshanam. It was about, you know, trying to further and cultivate the awareness of devotees relating to each other in a loving manner and helping each other to advance in devotional service. That's what this is. So what is it? Didati, to give gifts and accept gifts. You know, this is like a standard thing in the karmic world, right? How do you relate to someone? Birthday party, wedding party, whatever it is. You give gifts, accept gifts, right? Giving prasadam and accepting prasadam, you know, and opening your heart to another devotee and accepting, you know, letting them reveal their minds, you know, like that. So, and then it warns us, don't judge other devotees by their appearance. Someone may be ill. So oftentimes, you know, if someone is disabled or something, you put them in a certain category. You know, I don't want to catch that, you know. But you have to see beyond that, especially for devotees. I remember this became very graphic to me once when I visited Russia. I was able to visit Russia twice, just the way it developed. And once I attended this festival on Divnomorsk. I don't remember the name, Divnomorsk, it's on the Black Sea. They used to have a festival there every year for the Western Russian devotees. Russia is just too big. You come from Eastern Russia, it's like coming from Los Angeles to Europe. You know, that's how big Russia is. So it's the Western Russian devotees. There were plenty of devotees. So you come into this big hall, right, and Satyanandan Swami was there, and some other Swamis, and Lokanath Swami, I believe. And of course, Bhakti Vigyan Swami. And it was Russian built. It was built during the Russian era, you know. And the architecture, sometimes the architecture was a means of torture. I mean, maybe not consciously. No ventilation. We had this whole place full of devotees and there was no ventilation. I have a picture of it, sweat is just pouring down, you know, there's the kirtan going on. But we transcended that. And I remember watching, and you had devotees, because there's a lot of devotees, you know, cross-section. And there was several devotees who were completely disabled. You know, one had one of this cerebral palsy or something, grew up with it and just could hardly walk, you know. He was walking up to Vyasa-san offering obeisances, and then he needed help to get up, you know. A bunch of devotees in wheelchairs and things. But you look at their faces, you know, and they're so happy to be in association with devotees and the kirtan and everything like that. So this is you know, and devotees get older, you know, and they get incapacitated. So you have to get away from this thing on the material plane of judging people by their external appearance, especially by where they're born, the color, all of that business. This is part of the Upadeshamrita. So you know it's a very important instruction, 1 out of 11. And then it describes how to relate to different levels of devotees. Krishneti yasya giditang manasadriyeta. Dikshasite padhanabhishta bhajantamisham. Shushusaya badhanabhigyamananyamanyanindadishunyvidamipta sangalabdhya. Sangalabdhya means to really aspire and be greedy for the association of. the highest devotees. But he starts out with, if someone just utters the name Krishna, even on the street or anywhere away, you offer your obeisances in your mind. You don't get down on the pavement in Harinam and offer obeisance. We had a devotee here that did that. You remember? Bhakta Mitch, right? Passed away. Amazing devotee. But aside from that, you realize, oh, this person is so fortunate. They've said the holy name. Out of billions of people in this world, who's actually hearing or uttering the holy name? Here, just by chance or whatever, the good fortune, they uttered it. They've purified so many lifetimes of sinful reactions. So that's in the mind. One who takes diksha, one should be careful, to offer physical obeisances, just like vanchakalpatarubhyascha. Of course, there are many who haven't taken diksha, but still the point is, this is a different level. Dikshasti chet pradhanabish chabhajantamisham. And then he says, who should we really aspire for the association? Shushushaya bhajanavigyam. Bhajanavigyam means a realized state from their bhajan. And they have some realization of Krishna. And what are the qualities? So, shushushaya, you remember I spoke about the importance of this word, it keeps coming up? Second verse of Bhagavatam. It says, if you hear the Bhagavatam with this shushushaya attitude, then the Lord will quickly be manifest in your heart. So what's the use of any other scripture? In other words, it is so important to hear the Bhagavatam, ardently. Ardent hearing, Prabhupada calls it, or submissive oral reception. Submissive means that you don't have any static coming on in the mind. You're fully hearing and you're taking it in and accepting the instruction. So here it says, shushushaya, one should be eager to hear ardently those who are bhajana vigyam, whose bhajan is mature and they've actually realized Krishna to some extent. Ananya manya nindari, they're devoid of the propensity to criticize others, other devotees. Bhajana vigyam, ananya nindari shunyam. The ninja means blasphemy. They're void, shunya of the propensity to criticize others. Ipshita sangha labdhya. One should be very greedy and eager to have their association. This word prasanga, I was just reading it in a verse the other day. It came up in the class, in the morning class. You remember? Mukta sango prasanga. You want to have intimate and meaningful association with those who are liberated from material association. Mukta sango prasanga. This came up about Pritu. You see? So, back to our divisions here. So this is the Madhyamadikari. 4 different things, just to go through again. 4 different categories. The Lord, the devotees, the innocent, and the envious. For the Lord, we try to develop love by the process of bhakti and veneration. For the devotees, develop friendship. For the innocent, mercy by giving them Krishna consciousness. And for the inimical atheists, you avoid them. Then you have the Kanishta. Kanishta means the lowest level. So Kanishtadikari, vast number of people are Kanishtadikaris, if they're religious at all. They may go to church or even to temple, different temples, and they show some reverence for the Lord. So what's their quality? How does it start? That verse about the Kanishtadikari? Oh yeah, Archaya me baharihe, pujam yakshadayehite, natu bhakteshu chanyeshu, bhaktaste kanishta. How's it? Prakrita. Prakrita means materialistic. Sorry, I forgot that. Not enough glucose in the brain. Sorry. So it says, Archaya me baharihe pujam. So they're eager to do some puja, even just puja meaning come and see with reverence, put some money in the box. Archayam means the worshipable deity of Hari. Archayam eva Hari pujam yakshadaye. They have faith in that. I should go to the temple, even if it's in their home. I go to the temple and offer my prayers, offer a little puja, and pray for safety, prosperity, health, wealth, whatever. So that's Kanishta, because it's materialistically motivated. That's what we call Prakrita. Prakrita smatan. They're known as materialistic practice. Now, so this means that their faith is not strong. There's something called komala shraddha. Komala shraddha means very delicate and easily broken. So what happens is now, apply this Kanishta to the general populace of people who are religious to some degree, whether they're Christians, Jews, Muslims, anything. So what's the overall, overwhelming motive? Who's going to the temple or going to the mosque or to the church? Maybe some are, but praying for love, praying for not even for liberation, but praying for, let me develop my love for you. You see, only maybe the Madhyamika and above, even the Kanishta Hindus, they're going and praying for dhanam, janam, wealth, followers, health, wealth, something. Give me this daily bread. That's the standard thing. Now, Krishna says that's good. That there's 4 kinds of pious people who come to me, and among those category, probably the largest category, or 2 categories, are those who are in trouble, or think they might be in trouble. Their friend is in trouble. I don't want to suffer like that. And so, out of they pray for health, wealth, and avoid trouble like that. But generally, as life goes on, there's some trouble: the debts, disease. Some child or cousin is in trouble with the police. It just happens. So there's all kinds of things to pray for, And then, of course, you have to pray for forgiveness for all the sins you committed, right? Because you're not getting a higher taste by that kind of worship, and so that you don't have any spiritual potency to avoid sin. So it becomes but generally you regard God as a strict, vengeful God who hopefully will forgive me this time. I mean, I don't know the mentality. I haven't, I never went to church for that reason. But and then what happens is that faith is easily broken. Prabhupada tells the story, probably coming from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, because it could have come, before that, because it had to do with World War II. So during World War II, we know that so many, men were dragged into the army, both in every country that fought the war. It's a world war. And Prabhupada gives the example of Germany. Millions of men who were some woman's husband, brother, father, or son, they got dragged off into the army. And what do you think they're doing? They're all going to church, praying. As ardently as you can possibly pray for, please return my son, uninjured, or, at least alive, husband, whatever. And many of them didn't come back. And many of these ladies, they lost their faith, How can, my son was an innocent boy. He would go to church with me. He's not an evil person. And here he got killed and mutilated. Where is that God? Where are you, God? Why have you forsaken us? If you're all powerful and all merciful, why did you see that? This is the fallacy when there's no deep philosophy behind a religion. Unless you have the understanding of reincarnation and karma and future life, and that this is just a stop on a long trip, you can't accept that the all-merciful God would hurt my innocent boy or myself. I always go to church. I followed Yom Kippur very religiously. This is a high holy days in Jewish thing. And yet my eldest boy got injured on the football field, and my husband came down with cancer. And how could it be? Where are you? And then, with this society, which is so irreligious, it's easy to get the idea there's no God. And then you go down that road and you read all those kinds of books and you soon become convinced. So this is the danger of staying on the Kanishta Adhikari platform, of simply revering, even if it's Krishna, as an order supplier of some kind, rather than maturing and seeing that, coming to the point of tattenu kampam susamikshamano. This is a very important verse, one of Brahma's prayers to Krishna in the 14th chapter. There's 3 or 4 that are quoted very, very extensively, and this is one of them. So what does it mean? Here, this is a verse which, if we can adopt the attitude and absorb this mood that Brahma is defining here, you buy your ticket to Goloka. It's just like ensure that you go back to God. So what does it say? Tattenu kampam susamikshamano punjana evatma kutam vipakam ridvag vapubhir vidadan namaste jiveti yo mukti padesa daya bhak. Now this verse is a whole pastime with Sarvabhauma Madhacharya, which we won't get into right now, but he didn't like that word mukti. He was an impersonalist, a Mayavadi, who was converted by Lord Chaitanya into a first-rate bhakta, a devotee. And so the Mayavadis are always thinking of mukti, mukti, moksha, moksha. Their whole motive is to get free from birth and death and merge into the Brahman, you know. So this verse has the word mukti in it, mukti pade. So he quoted it once to Lord Chaitanya, but instead of mukti pade, he said bhakti pade. He made mukti into bhakti. And Lord Chaitanya laughed. He said, you can't change the Shastra like that. What are you doing? So I can't even stand to hear the word mukti anymore. You know, it's just so anathema to me. So he made it into bhakti. So Lord Chaitanya explained how this mukti pade actually means liberation at the lotus feet of Krishna. You know, don't go overboard. So what does the verse mean? Idam tate nukampam. Anukampa, it means compassion. Now this is an interesting word. Sanskrit is such a wonderful language. Now what's one of the symptoms of ecstasy? There's 8 like sattvika bhavas, you know, crying and hair standing on end. One of them is kampa. You know what kampa means? Trembling. Oh, trembling in ecstasy. You know. Now here it says anukampa. Now anukampa, anu means to follow, or you can be in sympathy, right? So Krishna is the one who's the ocean of all compassion, and this word is used to describe in this specific use. There's many other words for compassion, you know, like karuna and like that. So anukampa, to me, you know, the root of the word seems to be trembling in sympathy. In other words, that's what empathy means. It means that I'm feeling your pain. You remember that one president said that? You know, he may have been lying, but that's what people want to feel. That, yeah, he's sympathetic to my suffering, and now he's got all this power, he'll solve it. It's similar to the way they worship God. But the point is that Krishna really is aware of all of our suffering and all our pleasures, everything, right? So he's anukampa. He's not indifferent to our suffering. And so one who sees that he's empathetic, sympathetic, and that anything that happens to me, right? Susamikshamano means to observe and to see very carefully. Bunjana can mean enjoyment, but it can mean experience in general. Ev atmakvatam vipaka. Vipaka means a danger or hurt or some injury. Okay, something negative happens to us, be it serious or not so serious. Atmakritam, I did it myself. It's a result of something I've done in this life or previous life. I'm not blaming anyone else. I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming God or my situation or my birth or my upbringing or anything. It's me. To take responsibility for one's present situation. And in spite of that, seeing Krishna's mercy and expecting Krishna's mercy and seeing it even in the negative things. Oh, this is the lesson for me, you know, not to do this anymore, you know. This is, but Krishna is so kind, he's so merciful that he's minimized it. He's minimized the reaction, right? Now, what's the proof that you have that attitude? Forgive me, Ajahn. Tatteno kampam atmakritam rid vagva purbe vidadhan namaste. To continue to offer one's obeisances, and in this case is kind of standing in for services in general, with one's heart and one's words and one's body. In other words, if you're really in this mood, your devotional service doesn't skip a beat. Even though bad things may happen to you, you're put into a difficult situation. You don't say, what's going on? I've been chanting my 16 rounds and following 4 regs for so many years, and now this happens? No, it's not like that. It says, this is now a result of my, you know, slackening off of my rounds, not following or doing this, or blaspheming that devotee, I thought, whatever. It's because of something I did. And therefore, I'm going to continue with full heart, rid bhagva bhubi, and the words are continuing glorifying and working with your body, vapur, rid bhagva bhubi, vidadhan namaste. And if you live this way, your life, jiveta yo, that person who lives that way, so, mukti pade sadaya bhak. Daya bhak is a word used to describe an heir, someone who's due to inherit something, you know, from a parent or whatever. Just stay alive. You know, you're already in the will. Just stay alive, and you'll get it. Just stay alive in devotional service in this attitude, and you'll go back to guided. That's what Daya bhak means. Prabhupada explains it that way. So you can see the contrast between that and the Kanishta mentality. Kanishta mentality, yeah, I'll worship you as long as, everything happens okay, But then, I don't know what the faith, what's the point of me doing this? But that's the material world. The material world means ups and downs, and because we're here, karmic, who knows what we've got in our karmic bond. And, so this, you can imagine, seeing, the whole thing is seeing, this anupashyati, right? This whole verse is about seeing in a certain way, right? Anupashyati. Anupashyati, observed in a systematic way. This is a wonderful, so everyone is observing the world around them, and their intimate world, of their relationships and everything, right? But how? What do you see in that? You see according to your mentality. Probably someone in the mode of passion who's very lusty, walks down the road, and he only sees those who may excite his lust, and then everyone else he just ignores. Who cares? You see on that. The one who's always looking at how to make money, he sees a forest, Oh, what a wonderful forest! It reminds me of Vrindavan. The devotee sees, let's go chant a round or two. But the person who's like a businessman, he says, all right, how many broad feet of wood is there? We can make some money. Let's see if we can buy these 100 acres, something. He's seeing differently. He's just seeing it wood. He's seeing it impersonal as money. According to your Atmavan Manyade Jagat. I remember this phrase like from day one practically in Brooklyn. Atmavan Manyade Jagat. You see the world according to your consciousness. It's obvious, But that's what we're trying to change. The point is to accept that we've been seeing a false world, an illusory world, because our consciousness is polluted. It's under the modes of nature. It's all the modes of nature. Someone in the mode of ignorance, what is he going through life, half drunk? Where can I get another drink? That's his mode of thing, like that. And where is there a safe place to lie down? These poor people on the street. Where I park, I've got a little room there with a second parking spot, so that, and it's because it's off the street, I often find the guys are camping out there. When I was hosting Bhakti Sundar Maharaj, the back room where he stays is right on top of the parking lot. So it was like, 9:30, 10 o'clock, he came out and said, I can't sleep, these guys are having a conversation right under my window. I didn't hear anything, so I had my gumshoe on, I walked outside, and they were very polite. They weren't intoxicated, because they saw I was a devotee, and they didn't want me to call the police. So as soon as they came down, okay, we'll be very quiet. They didn't, not a peep out of them after that, But that's, those are some fortunate homeless guys that come there. One guy, he said, yeah, I remember, when is that festival coming up in Watseka? He's from L.A. He drove his bike down from L.A., and he knew harekrishna. He'd seen the big festival in Venice Beach. So it's coming up right now, in 2 weeks or 1 week. Well, maybe I'll drive my bike back up there. He was a devotee of some kind. So stay where you are. So the point is that obviously we see the world according to our consciousness. Now, hearing the Shastra, practicing devotional service, changes the way you see. The way you see yourself, the way you see others, right? And when you act on that vision, on that knowledge, then your whole life changes, right? The way in which you're relating to. So this is what this verse is about. One who sees, who is able to see, is not trying to exploit. As soon as you're trying to exploit somebody, then you're on a bodily platform. You're in the demonic mode, But as soon as you're trying to elevate someone, seeing them as, I'm a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, we're all brothers and sisters, But this poor soul has forgotten his relation to Krishna. Let me see if I can remind him, right? And people sense that. You're approaching them not to take advantage. You're trying to give some knowledge. You're trying to give some, really sometimes just give prasadam, or give them a smile or something which they haven't experienced on this horrible world for so long, except from those who are smiling at them and trying to exploit them, right? That's what the advertisements are, right? They're always smiling at you, Please buy this car, be happy, We want to serve you. This idea of service. Service station, you remember the service station? Now it's all self-served, But so how to become genuinely feel that you want to help people, genuinely feel that we're all brothers and sisters. You have to cultivate the knowledge, live the knowledge, chant Hare Krishna, and see through the eyes of Shastra. So this Isopanisad, you have to realize this preceded the Bhagavatam classes. They had the Isopanisad before they had Bhagavatam printed. And so in the LA, in the like 70 or whenever they opened it, they were having Isopanisad classes. And you find some devotees from that time, they know the whole Isopanisad. I don't know the whole Isopanisad, I know a few main verses, But they'll just knock it off because there's only 18 verses, you could really learn it. But you can see how important this is. Prabhupada's pouring in the whole philosophy here. Oh my God, I went over time, I'm sorry. Any questions, comments, quickly? Yes, hold on.
What is the difference between...
Belt it out.
What is the difference between the qualities of the individual soul and the qualities of your false ego?
And the false ego? Well, the false ego is the interface between the soul and the material world. We have an ego, whether we're in the spiritual world or in the material world, the sense of self. Now, in the material world, the sense of self is all wrapped up with the material body and the senses. And that includes, you always have to remember, that includes all the lower animals and plants and everything. It's very, very rudimentary for like these plants. Of course, these are fortunate plants. They're out in the Krishna garden. But for the most part, so covered, they hardly even know they're alive. But there's some consciousness there. They'll twist the flowers, get to the sun, and like that. But it's extremely covered. But for human beings, because we're on the evolution, it's not that the forms change, but the soul's consciousness changes. It becomes more and more uncovered as you come up the species. And when you come to the human form of life, the sense of self is still wrapped up with the body, but because of the higher intelligence, you can change that sense of self. You're not locked in, when you get some transcendental knowledge and you practice, you're associated with Krishna. So the soul, it's beautifully described. I'll just refer to you, I'll give you the exact reference later. But in the latter part of the teachings of Lord Kapila Dev, in the third canto, he describes how the false ego, I always have to remember, how did we come here, right? I mean, we came here. We were in the spiritual world, we came here. So how did that happen? In the spiritual world, we have no material body, not a tinge of modes of nature. But now, we have this material body, which means birth and death, suffering, all these different things. How did that happen? Well, we developed the desire to compete with Krishna. How did that happen? That's intrinsic. The ability to do that, or the tendency to do that, is intrinsic in our sarup, our nature. This is a very illuminating verse. Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatan, where he begins more or less with this verse. Sanatan says, who are we? Who am I? If I don't know that, what's the use of all my so-called erudition? So the first answer is, Jivera, that's of the Jiva, Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas. But there's a second line which most devotees don't recite, which is also very important. Krishnera tatasta shakti beda beda prakash. All of this verse is about the sarup of the jiva, as answering the question, who am I really? In other words, what is my identity that never changes? I may identify with something or put on a costume of this material body and really lose my awareness of that identity, but the identity doesn't change. So the identity, every jiva, plant, ant, or Brahma, is an eternal servant of Krishna. Krishnera, Jivera Swarupoi, Krishnera Nityadas. Yes, Krishnera Nityadas, an eternal servant, Nityadas of Krishna. That's the jivas. And furthermore, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti. We are eternally Shakti, not Shaktiman. We are energy, Prakriti. And we're the Tatasta, meaning we're on the margin. Tata means on the margin, like we have at the beach here, where the waves come up and they go off. So, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti, Veda Ved Prakash. And this last phrase is extremely important. Simultaneously different from and one with Krishna. So you have to know how are we one with and how are we different from. But I wanted to focus on the tatastha shakti part because that's pertinent to your answer. Tata means margin, and we're situated on the margin eternally. Now what does that mean to be on the margin? It means that we always have the tendency, although we may never act on it, to be attracted to the material energy. But those who are nitya mukta, who never come here, they never act on that, but they have the capacity. That's an important distinction. But they always stay nicely situated in the internal energy as Krishna's servants. But we made the wrong decision to turn our backs on Krishna and try to enjoy the material energy. And so that's where we are. Now when we make that decision, then the whole process of being encaged in the body and developing the false ego takes place. Instead of acting on my real ego, my sarup, which is Krishna's servant, I need to develop, in order to fulfill this desire, or try to fulfill it, this false sense of self. And so the false ego develops just below the soul. And how does that ahankar, or false sense of self, manifest? Well, in association with the mode of goodness, it develops the mind, and with the most associated mode of passion develops the material intelligence, and in association with the mode of ignorance, it develops all the senses and the sense objects and everything else which makes up our environment. And that's our false ego. It's a big mistake. So the soul itself is never entangled. There's a verse, and we'll end here because it's getting late. Asango yayam purushaha. This is one of these little Upanishadic phrases. Asango means not actually associated. Ayam, this purusha, meaning the jiva, trying to be the enjoyer. That's the purusha. We're by nature prakriti, but we're trying to be so. The purusha never really associates with the material energy. But we think we are. We're totally convinced that we're this body. The whole world is completely in bewilderment. You see what I'm saying? So that's the soul is never entangled, but he takes on the false ego, and it's just like a dream. Like this dream, one body after another, dreaming, and it's like as real as anything. Just like you put on those VR things, and if you keep them on long enough, you're really convinced. Say, yeah, I'm the hero. I'm really killing these people, but you're not. Anyway, we have to end. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.